Hello, this is a short presentation by Danube Tech on who we are and what we did with our project Universal DID SaaS as part of the first eSSIF-Lab business call. A few years ago, we started to work on two open source projects called the Universal Resolver and the Universal Registrar at DIF, the Decentralized Identity Foundation. The idea behind these two open source projects was to build an abstraction layer, an interoperability layer for different decentralized identifier types and methods and different underlying networks and distributed ledgers, because we have many different DIDs on different blockchains or other decentralized networks, and for interoperability it is useful to be able to work with all of them in a consistent way. So these tools, Universal Resolver, Universal Registrar, enable higher level applications and services that work with many different DID methods, DID networks, instead of just one or two. Now, within the eSSIF-Lab program, we thought that building a commercial product on top of those open source tools would be a very attractive project, and so we started to work on a platform, a hosted service that expands on those open source projects, that add hosted services and additional functionality. Within the eSSIF-Lab architecture, we're therefore focusing on that lowest layer that's here called the SSI protocols and crypto layer. So we're not really building applications for end users. We're not building an end user wallet or issuer and verifier components for credentials. We are focusing on the lowest layer, the DIDs, and we think that's attractive both on the technical and the business side, since those are really the foundational building blocks. All the SSI communities and ecosystems and initiatives that we see out there, they all use DIDs as the common element. After all, we can't really build an identity system if we don't have identifiers, right? We need identifiers to refer to things, to be able to create connections or exchange messages. All of that requires DIDs, and therefore we focused on this layer. In the course of the project, we built an API, again, that expands on the Universal Resolver and Universal Registrar functionality that's already available as open source, but we combined them and we built a hosted API, and we added some new functionality. So for example, you can see endpoints operations for working with DIDs, the standard operation, creating, updating, deactivating DIDs, resolving DIDs. In the project, we've collaborated, of course, with other participants of the first eSSIF-Lab business call. For example, we've worked a bit with Gattaca. We have support for Gattaca DIDs here in this API. I can put a Gattaca DID here, and I can resolve it to a DID document. So that makes it possible to build applications and services that work with Gattaca DIDs and many other types of DIDs in the same way. With Yolocom, we have I think old friendship and history of collaboration. So of course we also have support for Yolocom DIDs. In addition to simply resolving them, we also have the ability to query histories of DIDs. So DIDs can change over time. Sometimes there are technical requirements for being able to resolve DIDs at an earlier point in time, because they can change. And so with Yolocom DIDs, for example, I am able to put in a DID and a timestamp and ask this API for the DID document associated with the DID at that specific point in time, and I get back a corresponding DID document. This one was from 3 years ago, I think. With eOrigin, we've also had several calls and some collaboration. There's a very interesting use case to be able to associate deeds with other types of identifiers, specifically product identifiers known as GTIN. So we created several deeds using the deed web method and also the deed ion method, deeds that are associated with a GTIN. So if I resolve one of the deeds that we created together with eOrigin, then we can see that the deed document contains this GTIN. And in addition to that, we also built an interesting reverse search function that makes it possible to search for deeds whose deed documents contain a certain piece of information. So I can also do this the other way around and put a GTIN, one of these product identifiers that eOrigin is working with. I can send a query to this API endpoint, and it will return the corresponding deed. In this case, it's a deed on the ion network. So that's an interesting additional reverse search function. So all of this is very technical, and indeed, as mentioned before, our service is not targeted at end users, but it's really targeted at other SSI developers and solution providers. We are building not just the API, but also a web front end for accessing this low-level deed functionality, registration, for example. I can create new deeds. So I just created a deed on a Hyperledger Indie network. Deed resolution and hosted wallet and some other services are available here for SSI developers and solution providers. On the business side, we're going to offer this both as a hosted service with a subscription model, and also we will license software components for on-premise hosting. This is our team. We have had really good conversations and participation in the eSSIF-Lab program, and we look forward to the next steps, and thank you for your attention.